Good morning, everyone. Don from Emerson Educational Services. I am in Sydney, Ohio. Not at this Copeland plant, but really, really close, within a few minutes drive just across town. So everybody's doing well today. I wanted to kick some things out while before I start traveling again. Next week, we're taking them back off again. I think we're heading to New York next week for a 3-day cost class. And then the week after that, we're going to, I think, Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken that. So I'm going to take advantage of these while I'm in town, if you will, or close to home. I do a couple small videos. These are going to be things everyone knows, most everyone knows and learns the first week or so. These short videos later on in the summer when I'm allotted a little more time, I'm going to go over and get into the semi-hermetics and the tear down area, and we'll start working with those and tearing them down. And I've actually inquired about possibly having some guest people come in, engineers and different ones to come in and talk with me if possible. So that's still in the works. Need to get permission for that. But anyways, I want to share some things with you. Something very generic today. Let's pick out what could be more generic than the good old TXVs. But as everyone knows, misdiagnosed quite a bit in our industry. I'm gonna switch these screens out. Give me just a second here. Okay, there we go. Looks like I did it okay, I think. TXVs, thermal expansion valves. Now we're seeing a lot of EEVs. TXVs. What do we need to know about TXVs? Well, the first thing I want to emphasize when I'm teaching, especially people are what we refer to as greenhorns or new people in the field, is what's more important, the superheat or subcooling on the TXV? In my opinion, it's got to be the subcooling, right? If you notice entering the TXV, if that subcooling is not right, if you don't have a full column of liquid going to that TXV, nothing else matters, right? The bulb is reading the superheat. So as I always word it, bad information in, bad information out, right? So if the subcooling is not correct, the superheat's not going to be correct. So that's established first and foremost, all right? What's the purpose of the TXV? What is the TXV for? Well, it responds to temperature and pressure only. Okay, it does not control air temperature. It doesn't control head pressure. It does not control capacity, and it does not control suction pressure, right? It is responding to the temperature and pressure only. All right. And as you may or may not know, I'm sure you do, you all know this, that bulb is filled up with refrigerant. And typically that refrigerant is the same refrigerant that's actually in that application or in that system. They're not interacting with one another, right? They're their own separate entities, if you will. Doesn't always have to be the same refrigerant, but more than likely is. This warms up, expands that pressure in there, shoots the pressure through the tube, back to the diaphragm, back to TXV, it opens it up and closes it, moving on. You know, a metering device is just a hole, right? The TXV is nothing more than a moving hole. All right, responding to that load in real time. Now, not near as fast as an EV is, obviously, and I hope to do more on the EVs like we do in class for you, but that's going to take just a little bit longer. But just for today, this 2-minute little cut, if you will, going to go over this. So that's how the TXV is there. What do we need to know, or what do we teach? Here's how we teach it. And if you got other ideas or suggestions, please feel free. Put them in the comments area. You're not going to offend me. I'm pretty thick-skinned, grew up with all brothers, been a journeyman for quite a few years and been in the field for going just over 30 years now. So even if you hurt my feelings, it won't be for a real long time, okay? So bulb location. We prefer it to be horizontally in a perfect world. It's not always a perfect world, though, is it? But make sure you clean that surface. I mean, think about it, gang. We've got a circle on top of a circle. Very little contact. It's like button up 2 round tables at a restaurant. Not a lot of surface there contacting, okay? So make sure that's really, really clean there. Just because you put a new TXV on there and clamp it down real hard with the right straps and what have you, and then insulate it, doesn't mean your work's done. Make sure you clean that surface. Again, that's very little contact with that bulb and that refrigerant line, okay? Circle on circle. All right, clean the surface. Bulb should be located on the pipe at. We're going to tell you If it is 3-inch pipe or smaller, we're going to suggest it to be at the 12 o'clock position at the top. Okay. If it is 7/8 inch pipe or larger, we're going to allow you to get down a little lower at the 4 and 8. And I think some of our competitors will say 3 and 9, 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Doesn't matter. Where we don't want it at is that 6 o'clock position. Okay. And the reason for that is obviously we want to read the vapor, not the oil. It's going to throw it off. So that's the reasoning that we're allowing you to get farther down that refrigerant line, because in a perfect world, again, it's not a perfect world. There's no perfect world. But if there was a perfect world, we want our truest reading will be about midpoint in the center of that line set. Okay. So whether it's our competitors saying 3 or 9 or 8 and 4, that's where our truest reading, about midpoint somewhere there. Okay. When we get a larger refrigerant line, we allow it to move that 12 o'clock position because it became a larger line set, obviously, and we have less chance of it getting it too close to that 6 o'clock position. All right. But when the line set's really small, hey, we're flirting with fire there, or playing with fire, if you will, possibly getting it too close to that 6 o'clock position, that oil giving you false readings. All right. So that's a little bit about that there. Now, when you go to clamp this thing down, obviously we want you to use the right straps, use what's coming in there. That does not include plastic straps, Panduit straps, duct tape. Obviously, I'm joking around, but even if you use the right clamps, and you should, and obviously that's what we want you to do. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't get crazy with those big. If you're a real strong person like I used to be, don't get crazy with that 5/16 nut driver and really clamp down on it, because if you put a little dink in that bulb, you've just thrown that pressure temperature off there. That is sized for that reason, that cylinder, that bulb size. Okay. If you mash down on that, you've just changed that whole pressure temperature on that TXV, right? So be careful with that. All right. In all cases, again, the bulb should be insulated from the ambient temperature. Again, a very small surface, round on round, is touching that, so it's a round line set or a circle line set and a round bulb, not a lot of contact. So clean it and then insulate it so it's not reading ambient air. All right. Enough said there. Bulb should not be mounted on the evaporator suction header. We all know that. The bulb cannot measure the temperature on the bottom runs. This could create a possible floodback situation. Not could, it will. You see how we got the bottom runs here? All right, it's not reading those at all. And that's what the TXV bulb's there. It's checking, it's giving information back to that diaphragm of that TXV, right? And telling them, hey, I'm too hot, I'm too cold, I need more liquid, I need less liquid, whatever that looks like, letting it into entering the evaporator. So the correct thing to do is to have it on the line. Whenever possible, if a P-trap's used, the equalizer and the bulb must be on the same side of the trap. Coil side is preferred in the picture on the top, but we will allow this here if there's not enough room here on the coil side. Okay, make sure you have that sample tube over here. Okay, on the back side of that bulb, always and forever. All right, again, clamp down nice and snug there and insulated. And then in closing, just something I teach in class. I'm sure everybody does it the same way. I could be wrong. I haven't sat in it. Besides Jamie Kitchen, who I really like watching his presentations. I've sat in on at least one, maybe two of his presentations at the ESCO out there in Vegas, and he does a really fabulous job. Kudos to Jamie. And I learned so much from other instructors when I'm taking my break and teaching in between times. But let's take a look at this. We've got a P1, P2, P3, P4. Now, a lot of times you don't hear about P4, but let's talk about P1, P2, P3, and P4 anyways, okay? So P1 is our bulb. They're referring to our bulb at the top. And it's bulb pressure, and it's an opening force, all right? So if you're ever taking a quiz, like we do at our classes at the end of the day or at the end of the week to make sure everybody's all on the same page, P2 is going to be reading our evaporator pressure, and it is a closing force. So it's pushing back, okay? It's pushing back as closing force, so reading that pressure there. P3 is also a closing force. If it's an adjustable TXV, it's kind of set it and forget it. If you should come up on a TXV that's been adjusted or misadjusted, or the caps, the bottom of the TXV is laying down the tray when you go to pull the bottom of the evaporator case out, the floor out, and you see it laying there, and you all know it's going to be a long day. Just remember, factory setting is midpoint. So what I want you to do is screw it all the way to the top or screw it all the way to the bottom. Makes no difference. But then take it all the way up or all the way down and count the intervals. So in other words, from bottom to top or from top to bottom, it's 10 total. Just go down 5, about midpoint, and you should be fairly close, if not exact, on that factory setting, okay? Again, P3 will be a closing force, all right? And then P4 is an opening force. That's our liquid line. And the last thing I want to share with you, the way I always try to encourage people to learn this, especially with people with less than 2 years, less than 5 years, or 2 days. Sometimes we get people in the classroom, how much experience you have, and you have people in the second row with 2 weeks experience, all the way to the back in the last row, it's got 32 years experience and everything in between. So I never assume everybody knows the same thing. So when it comes to fundamentals, we have to make sure everyone, as quick as we can, those first couple hours with fundamentals, that we're somewhat on the same playing field, if you will. You have to have a good foundation before you start framing your house, right? So what I try to remember is I'm really weird about rhymes and things like that, making those connections. Like just different things. 225, stay alive on your discharge temperature, those kind of things. Remember this, P1 and P4 are an opening force. P2 and P3 are a closing force. And I always suggest, if you're taking a test and when you don't have these visuals for you, just remember P1 and P4 are opening forces. 1 and 4 equals 5. P2 and P3 are closing forces, and 2 and 3 equal 5. So 1 and 4 it equals 5, and 2 and 3 equals 5. And then I kind of jotted this down this morning for you to look at that. P1 plus P4 equals P2 and P3. Okay, so you have your opening forces on the left-hand side, closing forces over there. And I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff this morning for you, but I just wanted to get something out. Hopefully you maybe got something out of that. Hey, like always, put something in the comment box. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm always learning. Wouldn't be here today without the people that I've met in my life, whether it be students, other instructors, co-workers, supervisors, and all that good stuff. It's all about getting better and sharing whatever you know with other ones, okay? As always, from Don, be kind, be nice. Life's tough enough the way it is. Let's make it just a little bit better for each other, okay? Have a great day. I'm Don from Emerson. I hope to see you again real soon. Take care now. Bye.